where you are. Welcome to the Water Energy for Food Lessons Learned series to this webinar today in mobilization of private capital in a dynamic and a diverse context. So today we are doing like webinar in divided into two panels, and uh, it will first be covered by we'll listen to the innovators and then we'll listen to the hub. Before we move in, let me give a quick introduction. So I'm Jatin Yadav. I'm the Senior Technical Advisor at the Secretariat Unit for Water and Energy for Food Grant Challenge. I'll be moderating the two panels today. For the first panels, we have V4F Innovators with us. There's Luke Makarichi, who's Director of Greensim Ventures from Zimbabwe, Gaurav Kumar, co-founder and CEO of Claro Energy from India, and we have Hamis Al Gabri, Head of Grants and Partnership for Mozaire, who's joining from Egypt. They will be providing the valuable time and insights to discuss the impact of the program provided investment facilitation and how it helped in their journey. For the second panel, I'll be joined by Pamela Saber, who's the Investment Facilitation Manager from the MENA Hub, Sasmita Patnaik, who's the Regional Innovation Hub Advisor for Asia Hub, Kunto Binavan, who's the Regional Innovation Hub Manager for Asia Hub, and Rajkumar, who's the Investment Facilitation Specialist. And finally, from Southern Central Africa Hub, we will have Mashiri Sorimba, who's the Regional Innovation Hub Manager there, and Kahembi Mukuwa, who's the Investment Analyst. For housekeeping, we will pause for Q&A between the two panels, as well as we'll have a larger Q&A at the end of both the panels that we have today. For our audience that are in attendance, if you have any question, please feel free to drop them in the chat during the panel so that we can ensure that we cover most of the points and Q&As during this available slots. So yeah, so before we dive into the panels, I wanted to share a little bit about the program for those who may be new to Water Energy for Food. So as you can see, it's a $96 million program that supported small and medium enterprises as well as organizations who had a non-profit structure with a for-profit arm. They support solutions, technologies, or business model providing water food, energy food, or water energy food nexus innovations specifically to smallholder farmers and other end users. The program operated in 5 regions, namely Southeast Asia, Southern Central Africa, East Africa, West Africa, and Middle East and North Africa regions, and it consists of operated within the regional hub structure, whereas 3 of them in the program were managed by USAID previously, and 2 of them, namely West Africa and East Africa, were managed by our German partners GIZ. In total, there were 172 innovators that were supported in 44 countries. And each innovator received a customized support package that reflected their unique need, as well as the environment and context in which they operated. An innovator could receive a grant, technical assistance, investment facilitation, enabling environment support, knowledge generation, and facilitation through peer-to-peer learning, as well as capacity development as per their customized needs. For today, we will focus on investment facilitation, which was a critical element of Water and Energy for Food program. And as you can see from the investment results, next slide, please. So yeah, so as you can see from the results, we have, as a global program, mobilized over 211 million US dollars over the last 5 years, with some interesting insight already seen here on the slide. For example, the MENA hub had the highest percentage of women-led and or women-owned innovators raising investment at around 40%, while the Southern Central Africa hub had only 60% investment come from private sources, meaning the importance of public investment and innovative financing tools that played a critical role for innovators there. For Southeast Asia hub, the investment mobilized reached 153 million US dollars, and that was the largest among all the 5 hubs that we had. So yeah, so seeing the results and the unique circumstances and successes of each innovators and the hub, I think it's an excellent starting point to dive deeper first with the innovator panel, where we have 3 of our innovators from each region, MENA, Southeast Asia, and Southern Central Africa region, to shed some light on how their journey was, and how this program helped, and what could be the possible recommendation from their side. So yeah, so starting with the panel, I'll just go ahead with the first question to the innovators, and we'll go one by one. So starting, if you can just share your like investment journey as an organization over the last few years of your operation. And it would be great to highlight like what kind of instruments did you consider, what kinds you didn't consider, which may not have been the right fit for you and the organization. How long did it take to raise investment? Looking back, what would you have done differently, or what would have eased your process? So anything up in your journey that transpired and helps us to understand. So we'll first go with Hamish from Egypt, from Mozaira, and then we'll go to Luke from Greensim, and then Gaurav, you can wrap up on your side. So Hamish, over to you.
Hi everyone, thank you for having me. So for Mozera, Mozera is based in Egypt, as you mentioned, and it's one of the pioneers in the agri-fintech ecosystem in Egypt. It's established 2021, April 2021, and Mozera went through 3 investment cycles so far. One is the seed round, and a bridge round, and a Series A round. Mostly was depending on the VCs, so it's all venture capital equity investment. However, we also considered another instruments of grants for other R&D expansion projects that also focus on SDGs and farmers' well-being, or farmers' like income. We were also exploring the options of loans. However, the situation of the devaluation of the currency in Egypt made it a bit hard to get access to foreign loans, because you have to get it in USD or euros, and then to pay it back, it's not going to be easy because of the high inflation and this kind of fluctuations of the currency. But however, now we're reconsidering, after the stabilization of the situation in Egypt, of reconsidering of a loan financing. That's a bit of how the journey was and what type of instruments we were using.
Hey, thanks a lot, Hamish, for starting to share. Luke, over to you.
Okay, thank you for that opportunity. In our case, we considered for quite a number of instruments, of course. We considered grants. We also considered loans. But it did not take long before we could realize that we didn't have the capacity for repayable grants or even debt financing loans. I would say that overall, our journey has been both exciting and challenging, yet full of quite a number of learning points along the way. Dating back to around 2015, we started off by trying to participate in energy contests. The first one in which we participated, we were not successful, even though we were among the 30 finalists vying for somewhat around 10,000 US dollars. We were not successful. for a number of reasons, but mostly because our business idea was not yet fully refined during that time. Then a couple of years down the line, we signed a contract around 2020. We signed a contract for a 5-year project, which was valued at around 3.9 million USD. But it required us to really fundraise for the greater part of the project because we had been paid in the form of real estate. So the client required us to convert the real estate into working capital, which was really, really difficult on our part. We tried to work with quite a number of organizations, including PFAN, to more or less fine-tune our business proposal to bring it towards bankability. But I would be honest, the journey was really difficult. We were not successful to fundraise for that project. And then 2 years after that, around 2023, 2024, that's when we began to also consider repayable grants. That's when we first applied to EEP Africa, and again, we're not successful. And then after we got engaged with the USAID program, the We4F program, that's when we began to realize where we were getting it wrong. We had a business idea, but our idea was not fully refined to meet the requirements of the funders. And also we had quite a number of internal gaps as an organization. We had quite a number of internal challenges that pointed out to capacity, which again would be quickly flagged out as a red flag to investors. So when we got engaged with the We4F program, the first thing that they did to us was to really look at our organizational strength. They identified through the pre-award survey that we had quite a number of gaps, which they worked to really close those gaps with us. Then after that, we realized that our capacity to attract grant financing had improved. From there, we applied to the MCFA2, the Modern Cooking Facility for Africa, and we were successful for a 1.5 million grant. And from there, we also applied again to EEP Africa. That was our second application to EEP Africa this time around. And we were successful for a 0.5 million grant. So I would say that, as you can see, we started off with a lot of failures. And the major reasons were on our end. We didn't know how to align our business idea with what the funders really expect from us. And when we worked with the We4F program, we began to really iron out those issues and develop capacity to really attract grant financing. In terms of debt financing, I would say even until now, we're still hoping that we can develop capacity to attract debt financing. We are not yet there, but we hope that now that we are having good successes with grant financing, we can be able now to improve our capacity to attract debt financing.
Great. Thanks a lot, Luke. It's been an interesting journey in a very different context, as we can see. And yeah, we'll now move to Gaurav. Gaurav, if you can lead us through your journey for your organization.
So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. So, our journey also started like that, but what we have did is like we have bucketed every type of money in a different buckets like debt, equity, and grant. So we are across all the three components. We are getting the money, and for the each money we try to tidy up the things in that pod only. Like for the debt, we strictly only going for the project. So whichever the project we are getting it, because the type of business we do, solar water pumping, solar rooftop, and all these are doing it for the farmers, and mostly the end buyer is a government. So where there is like a lot of capital intensive projects are there, and where you require as many as capital you can unlock. So for that one, what we did is like we have like a debt, equity, and grant. All three capital we try to unlock it, and that particularly, and that's like one of the why I'm just giving this example is the bucketing thing, because that is very important to sustain our organization. So like the debt, we only use it for our projects. If we are not using that debt for any other thing, equity, we are only using equity for the growth and the new things which we are trying to do it, and that money has to only go into that. Grant, we use it the things which are not budgeted in any of the our organization. Like I'll take the example of the grant which we have got it from W4F. We have tried to develop the AI model, which I think last time we have our team has also gone through that uh, seminar. So we have developed that is from the grant we got it from W4F. The equity, whatever we got it, we try to develop a new segment for the rooftop, which is currently almost like a $100 million revenue pot for us. Similarly, for the debt, we only use for those projects which have the high profitability, and that is going to be rotate and repay the debts and try to manage from those things. We have also unlocked a lot of partnership model, because if any company who has like a surplus money, if they wants to do, we are ready to uh, share our profit as well. So we are sharing our profit, and that's why also we try to unlock the capital. So the nutshell, what we are trying to do is like trying to do as many as things so that our growth should be there, and growth in a typical bucket, not like I'm getting the money for projects and I'm using it for some new experiments. So that's we are not doing it. We are only doing the things in a right bucket at the right point, and that's discipline. We maintain it, and that's how we also grow.
Great. No, thanks, Gaurav. I mean, that's very interesting, and how your company has matured. I think for the next part, I would, I mean, go a little bit deeper into the challenges you faced, mostly when you were like fundraising with private investors, let's say, uh, and uh, and the challenges that came with the knowledge aspect, or knowing or not knowing what to do, who to interact with, and just a little bit from the earlier part of your journey, and then how you were able to overcome those kind of challenges, and then raise investment. And then if like we for have played a part, you can go a little bit deeper on like, was there any technical assistance, or how the team worked with you, so that it's helpful for us to understand at a very pragmatic way. So again, I'll go in the same order. Hamish, will start with you, with any challenges that you face, and then how it panned out for you.
Sure. I would really like to reflect on one challenge when it comes. So for Mozera, it's we're providing farmers with financing, agri financing, but it was usually in the form of embedded financing, because we did not get the certifications required yet for cash financing farmers, and we didn't want to go in that direction. However, it's usually a bit of a burden on our cash flow to finance all the farmers who's in our network. It's a long repaying cycle, because crop can take 6 or more months in a season, and we wanted to unlock financing for farmers from the banks. So loans to the farmers, not loans to Muzera. But however, the challenge was like we had a lot of low interest rate financing from banks, from agricultural bank, from NBE. However, the communication between the farmers and the bank was not really, it needs a bridging. The banks need to kind of loosen the regulations a bit, or have a wider acceptance formula for the regulations, for like farmer documentations, ownership, etc., etc. And this is where we stepped in. We were trying to use the farmer contract with us as a guarantee for the bank that the farmers will pay back their loans. And within this context, we had a lot of support from We4F, and also from the MENA region, from the Happen Beritek, and also from Chemonax Egypt. We had a lot of meetings, discussions, and a TA project trying to work on the farmers' creditworthiness and also how can we guarantee for the bank that those farmers are going to pay back. And we had these meetings with the banks, and they actually agreed on for the MBE, at least for the National Bank of Egypt, they agreed to waive the land ownership as a document from the farmers to provide. However, farmers would actually can provide a land rent contract or other, form of contract that they have this land or they can operate in this land. That was one big, success, and this is actually led to unlocking several millions of investments went from the banks to, of course, to the farmers. And we were working also on the formula of how the farmers can receive this kind of loan, because we didn't want it to be also all in cash. It will put a risk of farmers maybe not using the loan, for agriculture, but might use it also for other purposes. And we also worked on this proposal for the bank. That's where also had a couple of support or like some support in this formulation of a 60% embedded or like in-kind financing and 40% cash financing that the farmers can receive from the bank. And those embedded financing or like input financing will go through Mozera Trusted Network for Input Supply, which will also guarantee quality of the crop and quality of the inputs used. So that it was a bit of a, now I see it as like a complicated, discussion, but we took it step by step, and luckily we managed to do this protocol last year. But that's yeah.
Great. And just quickly, if you take a minute, like you said, you were able to overcome these challenges. What was the key aspect internally? What was missing before, and then you could do it again? So, which took you to success, like very quickly.
So, sure. So for the bank, this documentation has been since forever requested from the farmers, because farmers cannot like, it's not really have the most high score, or like, they're not really known for the banks. So what we did in the first stage was actually to try to do a financial inclusion for the farmers. So all the farmers working with Mozera, they have opened the bank account. So now they are like, they're visible for the banks. They see the transactions, they see their payments for the past couple of years before initiating this agreement with the bank. So they're kind of known now and under their own radar, and the next step was just into the bank and saying, if the farmer have a 2 sequential season contract with Mozera and he's successfully delivering their crops, their quality, etc., we can guarantee that this farmer is going to pay back your loan, because we have this agreement, and now the banks are considering our trilateral agreement as as a source of guarantee, or as a source of confirmation for the farmers to pay back, which kind of is facilitated more loans. But that's the internal process that we were working on. But also we were working on defining the model. So in the beginning, we know that if the farmers took all cash, it might go for other ways, not just agriculture. It might go for buying, I don't know, a house or whatever, depending on the money.
Yeah.
And we want to guarantee that this money is going to be used for our operations. And that's why we kind of had these long discussions with Chemonics Egypt and was also Veritech on how to design this with our team led by Noha. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I think it's an interesting point where to raise debt from the bank side, you not just had to give a collateral on your side, but also had to take guarantee from your end users. So like double the work. And I think that's an interesting point I'll take forward. So Luke, quickly over to you for the challenges that you face and how V4F support helped you in your journey.
Okay, thank you for that. The key challenge that I would say that we faced throughout our journey is related to the fact that we sort of interchanged priorities. We started off focusing mostly on trying to raise as much money as possible, or as much funds as possible for our projects, but without developing that internal capacity to support that anticipated investment. And that was a huge challenge. We thought we had a brilliant idea, an innovative idea, and we thought, well, everyone is going to really testify that we have an idea that is worth funding or worth investing in. But that was wrong. Yes, we had an innovative idea, but we still had to develop internal capacity to manage whatsoever investment that we were looking at. So we spent quite a lot of time on the gas to power project for which we had signed a contract in 2020. The client had transferred the real estate to us, and we felt we are good to go. Every investor would be interested in putting money into our project, and that was not so. The project risk was still too high. And when We4F came on board, they helped us to really look at our organization first. Okay, before we even think about the funding, they say, okay, let us look at your organization. Do you have the capacity to really manage the funds? Do you have the capacity to manage the work? So after the engagement with We4F, that's when we realized that it's important to have the technical capacity first and then focus on trying to raise funds later on. So I would say that's one of the challenges. And then, of course, even when we were eligible for grant financing, one of the key challenges has always been associated with raising matching funds. But the good thing that the We4F program did for us is they brought a program, they awarded us a grant, which of course required 100% co-financing from our end, but which was not requiring the co-financing upfront. So we were allowed to access the grant at first, and then while we are implementing the grant, we were generating co-financing that we were able to prove to We4F to say while we were utilizing the grant, we were also contributing our portion of the matching funds, which is unique to, I think, We4F. It's not common with many other financiers. Most financiers insist on the upfront provision of the co-financing or matching finance, which presents quite a huge hurdle to most startups. So I think those are the two key challenges that I can mention, and I'm happy the We4F program was really spot on in terms of addressing our needs, or what we really wanted in order to realize a breakthrough, the capacity building at first, and then after that you look at the fundraising.
Yeah, great. No, excellent point, and also mentions the context that when you are a little bit earlier stage in terms of raising investment, you have to utilize other innovative financing like results based or get matching fund and co-funding and get to a level where you can access the later stage financing. Thanks, Luke. I'll come back to you again, but Gaurav, over to you. Like key challenges and where like probably we would have helped you the most in your overall long journey.
Yeah. So I think the Luke, wherever he has stopped, I will start from there. He has raised a very good point. The word is investment readiness. So whether your company is investment worthy or not, that's very important. And that's we always in our day-to-day work where we can't find a time to figure out whether everything is in place or not. So I think the first thing which W4F, where we have started with the investment proposal, so they have come and they have sit with us and they said, where is your system and policies? The first question they ask. And then we said, oh my God, what is this? We have like 2, 3 policies, and then no. They have given a list of policies which need to be in place if you really wants to have any system to work. And that's like a beginning. Then they have worked with us on a business model, then their modeling, then they have also fixed up all those irregularities and anything which is required on our system. That's all. Once you've done the flush out, you are ready for the investment. So that's investment readiness, which we also got in one of our seminars in W4F only, where the same investment readiness has to be there for any company to be ready for the investment. And that is what WE4F has done for us. We have now, after that, we have started exploring all the multilateral agencies for the loan guarantees or for the equity. Although some of the discussions was not very successful, but still that gives us the impetus where we really build another level of comfort, and then we have raised a lot of equity after that, and lot of and the important point which Luke has also mentioned, very unique matching capital grant, which we also use it, and that's really helped us because we to unlock something. It's a very typical example. Like in India, if you have to unlock capital, you need a collateral, and collateral for us was the bank guarantees which we are giving. And for the bank guarantee, you need to give the FDR, the fixed deposits. So for the fixed deposit, we doesn't have the money. If we can give like a 20% fixed deposit, we can get like 100% money out from the as a debt. For those 20%, we don't have that full amount. So that way, W4F have comes and we have unlocked that. They have given 10%, we have given 10%, and then we unlock like 100% debt for us. So these type of innovative grant, you can say, is very important to understand the business need, which I think WFRF has understand very well, and that has really benefited us because that's where we unlock the debt, and then the machine start rolling, and then you can get more debt, more projects, and that's how it's always there. So I think
Great.
to so maybe
Yeah, go ahead. You can complete
no,
it.
I'm just saying in summary, the first thing is investment readiness, which W4F has made us so that you are ready to pitch anyone. And if it's a bunch of a document set which anybody asks, we can immediately forward. So in a 2 to 3 days, our all documentation has closed. So that's how you should be ready so that otherwise this conversation can be so long, then eventually it's fizzle out. So that's my take.
No, agreed. And I think that's when we realized that the investment matching grant that you mentioned, if there is a potential to unlock more, we would give that money. And I'm also seeing that in investor readiness, there is this constant, uh, rather than a one-off assignment of 1 or 2 months, which generally programs do, it's like a constant hand-holding through the investor readiness process is more helpful throughout the year or your tenure in the program rather than like fixed assignments because it's a journey rather than a destination, immediate destination. So um, yeah, so thanks a lot. I mean, in the interest of time, I'll do this last one as a rapid fire. So take like 30 seconds to answer. This relates to your probably future journey. So as you know, you all have worked for the program, and as a program, Water Energy for Food will be coming to an end. It was stopped a bit because of the stop work order last year, but we are lucky to come back, restart the program, and just finish some of the support. But it is in the final stage, and you all will move on in your uh, sustainability journey. Um, uh, and so, what is it that you will recommend for future donor programs or even other ecosystem actors? There are impact funders, there are other actors who work with companies at your stage. Um, so what is it that you would suggest that these kind of programs, offerings from the funding ecosystem actors can provide you with in terms of what you have to do as an innovator in your next 3, 4, 5 years, plus also reflecting back on your journey, right? And and if you can start, Luke already mentioned the amount he raised. Hey, Miss and God, if you can also mention, if you feel fine and want to mention the amount that you could raise from banks or equity, so that your challenges can be ratified in the effort that went. So that's the question. So quickly, I'll first go to Luke this time. and then Hamish, and then Gaurav. So yeah, what are your recommendations, suggestions to support you in your journey?
Okay, thank you for that question. I would recommend that donors and other financial partners should consider something like a departure from the traditional approach of doing business. Um, there's always been the approach that is known, which unfortunately keeps many would-be entrepreneurs and innovators out of the game. So there is a need to really look at each business on a case-by-case basis. There are some businesses that require funding immediately, but there are a lot of businesses or startups that may claim to be in need of funding, but there is a lot that is needed before they can actually reach a point where they need the financing. What my brother said, investor readiness. So there is need for financial service providers to depart from the traditional approach of doing business, widen up your approaches and look at businesses on a case-by-case basis and make sure that each support is tailor-made for each particular business. I think that's what I would recommend. Then, of course, even to the innovators, I would also want to think that there is need to do a serious self-introspection. If we had done that at first, we would have shortened the time during which we failed in fundraising. A serious introspection to say, okay, what do we really need? Is it the money that we need, or we need to really look at ourselves and say we have gaps that need to be closed first? So I think that's critical. Going forward, where we are now, as I mentioned earlier on, we now want to really make sure that our capacity to attract and acquire debt financing has been is enhanced as much as possible. I think if there are programs that can be rolled out to really strengthen organizations like us in terms of capacity to attract debt financing, that would be really handy, because we are now looking at the bigger projects that require large capital investments. So I think accessing debt financing would be really handy for us.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Luke. Very pointed and relevant suggestions. Hamish, over to you. Quick rapid fire for you.
Sure. I will second look on what he mentioned, but I also usually I see the ecosystem as or like it could be more coherent. Like there's a lot of programs, there's a lot of funds or like entities who wants to support. But maybe if we have more synergies between partners or funds on a higher level, that would kind of tell startups, especially for the early stage startups, what can be next relevant to them in their own growth journey. For example, if they work with a specific pilot and it was on a grant base or funded, and they want to expand this pilot on another region or for more, I don't know, customers, if they're eligible for another program that can continue or building on what they already started, so that, to keep this momentum. For that kind of synergies might be, or like introducing innovators to different entities that can support. I believe this already happened through Wave4F, but maybe other programs can enhance this further, or even more, whether it's banks, it's other donors, it's clients who can buy directly from them, whichever capacity that the support can happen. Another point is we want also to have a programs that kind of unlock carbon credit market, because it's very potential. There is a lot of opportunities. However, it's still yet challenging for startups, to start understanding, legalizations and the certifications and how to be eligible and from where to start. Even the knowledge is there, but it's not really comprehended. And a program with kind of targeting this might add a lot of value for different types of innovators. Those are the 2 points I wanted to mention. Thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot, Hamish. And Gaurav, if you can take 30 seconds to close it out for us.
Yeah. So what Luke and Amis is still, I'm also on the same platform. Just to simple thing, there should not be rigidness in the any fund, like we only want to give this fund. There should be flexibility, should be there, which can be a need base and the type of things which really organization need it. Otherwise, sometimes we feel this is the only for this type of grant or this type of matching capital, but there should be openness on the which type of grant or which type of debt we are raising it. Second, one more thing which I want to add is like there's a lot of learning inside the cohort as well. So that learning how other peoples can also get it, or how if we have like developed some of the things, how the other peoples can also get benefit out of it. So those type of things also the funding agency need to see, and they try to implement and try to take it from the others hubs which are the best user practices, and that's needs to be implemented to the others uh, innovators which are there. So this is what my last suggestion was.
No, great. Thanks a lot. No, I think these are very insightful suggestion from aggregating more funding to and resources that can help much more with the amount of scale that can be achieved. Unlocking carbon credit, definitely we tried through the years, and it's still something that needs more understanding. And flexibility in the types of instrument, as you mentioned at the end, Gaurav. And that innovators can probably choose from depending on the stage they are at, which Luke mentioned as well. So I think the stage to offering alignment can go a long way. So with that, I would like to thank the three of you, Hamish, Gaurav, and Luke, for your time and really valuable insights today. And in the interest of time, I'll quickly move on to the hub team for their part of the panel. So thanks a lot, three of you, for taking your time today. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for having me on the panel.
Great. So since I don't see any questions in the chat yet, so I'll quickly move on to the hub part of the panel, where we will see from how it was working on with the innovators from the internal perspective, and what challenges, how the approach was developed, and then probably pivots made, reflecting like the 5 years of work that our key staff have done, who have been introduced earlier in the call. So I'll start with the first question. And again, because it's like VFR is coming to an end, it's more on reflection. So again, a journey is very important. How it started, how you all devised the support for the innovators, how did you assess the need and then work with them, and then what were basically the challenges faced in terms of what tools that work for the innovator and other aspects, right? So I'll start with Mashiri here, and Kahembi, he's already there. And then we'll move to the Asia Hub, Kunto, Sasmita Raj, and then Pamela, to you on this question about your journey, challenges, approaches developed, and pivots made for your work.
Thank you very much, Jatin. I think I'll just give some context to the journey, and then my colleague Kahembi will give the actual journey that we took and some pivots, including some challenges. And perhaps time permitting, I can also come back and speak about some of the recommendations for future programming. So the context really to the Southern and Central Africa region is that it's a very high risk perception region, where investors generally view this as a very high risk area. So that was the first challenge we were facing, and the context really that was part of that journey. In addition to that, we then had a very evolving ecosystem, if you like, of innovators or innovations, which were different levels of development. Some were very close to meeting investors, or at least ready to sit with investors. Some were nowhere near to sit with investors. So really arranging that array of innovators who from like very early stage to medium stage to some complex business models really needed a little bit of a strategy to the whole journey. So I wanted to give that context in terms of like, how the region is perceived and how much little funding is directed towards the region. And to give us more detail in terms of the journey itself, I would invite my colleague Kayembi to speak through the processes went through in supporting our 32 innovators in the region. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Mashiri. I feel like you already answered most of the question, generally. Hi, everyone. Yeah, so I think the context that Mashiri brought in, I think, was really pivotal to kind of the journey and early teething in problems, I'd say, to an extent that we did have, right? So from a capital raise, investment facilitation, purely perspective, those were some of the main challenges. The region's already tough. I know the innovators in the DRC especially understood how difficult it is to raise capital, especially commercial capital, and the different challenges that come along with that. But comparing from the early days, I think one of the I'll start with more of the learnings and then go back to some of the challenges. So some of the learnings that we did, and Mashir did allude to this, is kind of not bucketing in innovators and innovations kind of into one. They're all impactful. They're all looking toward to bettering their communities, the environment, food, job creation. They're all doing those things, but in different capacities and the different levels. I think some of the things that we found early on was, trying to bucket them, rightfully or wrongfully, but over time, understanding the different capabilities and levels that each of the innovators had. So, you'd have innovations that maybe started recently but had a really big community traction. And then but the revenue side of things was not as strong, so maybe not ready to reach the kind of investors, especially on the commercial side. But one thing to note is even some of the innovators, Luke highlighted that early, was also coming into, I think, meet with the innovators on the ground level and being frank to them, especially in terms of their level and capability of where they stood. So it was clear that a lot of the innovators were aiming for some strong kind of capital, debt or grants or repayable grants, but or debt or equity, but realizing they're not yet at that kind of stage yet. But some of the pivots, was obviously, as I alluded, was shifting kind of from to a more segmented approach, to seeing where which ones, even though are doing quite well, are they really there ready for more just purely commercial debt kind of capital, or are they more suited to more mezzanine, some blended kind of financing? And one of the big type of blended financing was results-based financing. I know Mashiri was there early on when that became quite evident that that was a critical type of financing, type of facility that was really useful, especially for the region that we have in the South and Central Hub, where it wasn't necessarily the easiest to even just get some of these larger grants, or even some kind of this impact investment, but really just maybe tying it purely to the results-based financing, some of the stronger things that we4F did as well. So those are some of the pivots, and obviously that worked well. Was also just making sure we have the alignment of the investment theses, and making sure the innovators also understood to an extent, the limits of how much capital they could raise based on what they wanted. Innovators some had smaller revenue streams or levels of capital raised, but you're looking for a $2 million raise when you won't even be able to absorb that. And Luke also alluded to that and highlighted that that was a fact of some of the learnings just as a whole, that I think it worked both sides. But yeah, I'll just pause here so that I can hand over to then Pamela to also come through on her side.
Yeah, I'll just quickly have one additional insight from you, Kahembi and Mashiri. Like one, result-based financing became a big pivot during the time of implementation. So, I mean, what does it take for your innovators or the innovators that you dealt with at your hub? How can they reach the next level of debt equity financing, or what is actually stopping them at their side? Or do you just say that it's because of the ecosystem in most of the countries like Zambia and Zimbabwe? Um, and what the deals that were successful, can you give a little bit of flavor of uh, the ticket size that generally your innovator raised and the type of instrument very quickly?
Right. So maybe I'll just jump in a little bit, then Mashiri can also jump in after. So I think in terms of the results-based financing, I'd say it's kind of both sides of the coin, where just in terms of the availability on the market and the kind of financing and trying to get innovators to the next level, we find that there's a significant gap of the right let me say the correct ticket sizes. There's kind of a gap between those that are looking for maybe a 50K to 750K, $500,000. There's kind of a general gap to raise that kind of capital, because you're looking at a lot more of the investors are happier to look for the 1 million plus. In some ways it's almost easier to raise that kind of capital because the business is already in that stable stage where they're comfortable, they're able to work a longer term with those kind of businesses rather than the 50 to 500K. So already there's that kind of gap. And the results-based financing came in, as you highlighted, Jatin, was really there to help facilitate, be kind of that bridging kind of facility between those that are looking for like higher ticket sizes, not necessarily over the long term as well. And yeah, that's kind of the where it came in. So I'll briefly jump to Mashiri first before I even in terms of the ticket sizes and how that moved on.
Sorry, Mashiri, I'll come back to you later in the interest of time. So I'll quickly move on to Kunto, if you can, Kunto, Sasmita, Raj, for your side of the journey at your hub.
Yeah, thank you, Jatin. For Asia, we have two regions, South Asia and Southeast Asia, which have different characteristics. So for South Asia, especially India, most of the innovators are more mature in terms of company stage, while Southeast Asia are mostly in the early stage. So this condition make the innovator has different needs in terms of the investment support, as well as the type of capital and also the ticket size. So maybe, yeah, Sasmita can share the experience on this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a few things that stood out for our hub, as Kunto rightly pointed out, was the fact that these ecosystems in Southeast Asia and South Asia were sort of different, but also every innovator was at a different stage. So very early on, we realized that investment readiness would be an important part of the conversation when we talk about investment facilitation. And when I say investment readiness, it's not only limited to innovators who were, say, relatively new to fundraising, but also innovators who may have raised funds before, but are now looking at bigger ticket sizes. So what gets you to raise 100,000 is very different than the readiness you need to raise, like, say, 5 million. So investment readiness itself became a conversation as part of the facilitation process. And then because of the difference in ecosystems, the manifestation of those readiness factors were different. For example, for a Southeast Asian innovator, expansion could mean looking at multiple countries in the region, whereas for an innovator within India, it could mean looking at more regions within the same country because of the population sizes. So a lot of TAs or technical assistance was then tied to respond to the investment readiness requirements of these innovators, so that the team, the investment facilitation team, is able to then use these validated data to present the readiness of the markets and the expansion of these companies to the right investors. We also realized while the impact narrative for some of those innovators were very strong, how do you build sustainable businesses alongside that impact narrative was again something that needed work with the team, and that was something that was done in collaboration with technical assistance and investment readiness coming in together. The third thing that kind of worked and was part of the pivot that we made is looking at matching capital grants as a strong lever for converting some of these deals, where we would make profiles of a group of innovators that could interest a potential funder, and sending them this profile and trying to understand what were their requirements, and using matching capital grant as a lever to say that a lot of that investment money is going to go directly into business, and the capacity building needs could be met through matching capital grant or the V4F grant. So positioning what Gaurav was suggesting, these in different buckets, allowed the businesses to show better impact while using the capital in very meaningful ways. So I would pause here and say these were some of the learnings that definitely we.
Smita, very quickly, I know we have short on time, just 20 seconds. What were the instruments most used in terms of debt equity that you saw in your hub with the investment raised by your innovators?
For us, more mature innovators were using a combination of debt and equity, whereas innovators who were still building up the business were looking at a combination of grants and equity, because debt would mean it puts an additional burden on servicing the debt very quickly on the innovators. So they were looking at patient capital when they were building this out, which both grants and equity.
So fair to say anyone requiring to raise under $1 million was looking for grant plus equity model.
Would probably be looking at a combination.
Okay, well, thanks a lot. We are short on time, but Pamela, over to you for the journey at your hub and any insights there.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for sharing the insights and for organizing this webinar. It is very interesting. So we shared the same type of learnings between the different hubs. So at the level of MENA region, we also faced a lot of challenges, whether the macroeconomic ones related to the currency devaluation, to the political instability, and this definitely increased the perception of risk at the level of investors. So we focused on de-risking our innovators just to, if you want, mitigate some of those risks and to help the investors to come in with a lower risk. So what we did is we focused, before the facilitation, we focused on the investment readiness. And this is very key. So the investment readiness that will start with capacity building, with the preparation of the financial models, with the preparation of the numbers that are most needed from the investor side, helped us to close successful transactions. So for example, when we go to a VC fund, or when we go to a private equity fund, or even the banking sector, they need a set of documentation. They need to make sure that this this startup or the scale up or this SME has the ability to repay the debt or to generate enough return. So this is what we focused on to make this due diligence work and to prepare this work for the investors, for them to lower the transaction fees. So this will help them to lower the risk and also to lower the time that is invested on each company to make the investment decision. So this was very helpful on that side. Also, we noticed that our innovators missed the governance side, so we helped them a lot on the internal policies to prepare the documentation needed, also that are required by the international financing institutions. So basically what I would like to say is that the catalytic grant that was provided by We4F helped those innovators to lower their risk and to finance the early stage need of their startup or scale up. And at the same time, the technical assistance and the investment readiness was the perfect source to help them mobilize the private investment. So this is basically the learning from our side, especially if I want to talk about the challenges faced by the MENA region. It's basically, in addition to the macroeconomic factors that I mentioned, we have the investor side. We have a if you want limited access to finance, especially in Lebanon, for example, where we have the collapse of the banking sector, in Egypt, there is if you want, misunderstanding of the climate smart and We4F Nexus SMEs. So most of the banks wouldn't understand, for example, the biofertilizers sector or other complicated business model. So this is where was our intervention in the investment readiness and then the facilitation between the investor and the innovator.
Great. No, thanks, Pamela. I think we are over time, but we'll take probably 2-3 minutes of people's time. Very quickly, if you can take 20 seconds to give a flavor of what kind of instruments were mostly used, debt, equity, and what kind of ticket sizes.
You mean from the MENA region?
Yeah, Pamela, for you.
Yes, so mostly we raised in equity from the MENA region, and this is because we had innovative scale-ups operating in the agri-tech space. So we had most of our funds raised in equity from VC funds. And we have the smaller ticket sizes that were raised in debt from banking sector.
Great. That's interesting that you could raise smaller ticket sizes debt in the MENA region, where it's very opposite in Africa and Asia, both where banks are more risk averse. But yeah, that's great. Thanks a lot for your insight. I have one more question that I'll come back to, but let me answer the chat question where someone asked that they hardly see sub-Saharan participation support and how they can join. I mean, unfortunately, as I mentioned, the program is coming to an end, and right now with V4F contract at UMI is in the wrapping up stage in the next couple of months. So please look forward to the donor websites, the LinkedIn pages of our program and similar programs for the news of any other program that is complementary to V4F or any new things that come up. Our LinkedIn page keeps posting information about that as well. So please follow that, and hopefully that will help you support in your journey. So I'll quickly come to again the rapid fire for you all as well. Take 30 seconds to answer the same. And again, the question is the same. As an implementing partner, you'd work directly with the innovators, but if you have to give suggestion to again donors or fund designers, don't just take donors into mind, but take the ecosystem that helps this stage of SMEs. Having worked with them, what would you suggest that they can make it? I mean, V4F was successful, but I'm sure there are definitely lessons for improvement and making it even better for future. So yeah, we'll start with Sasmita, your hub, and then we'll go to Pamela and then end with Mashiri and Kahembi.
Yeah, I think probably Raj can come in on this one. Sure.
Sure. I think so. As Jatin also mentioned in the beginning, the investment readiness is a kind of journey and not a short-term destination. So that program has, whenever such programs are being designed at a broader level, the investment readiness has to be from the start to the beginning. And also, as already highlighted by multiple people, that all the innovators may not be at same level. There would be some uneven, on the investment readiness. So accordingly, the program needs to be designed for different type of innovators, different type of capital structuring, and different stage of capital. And another piece probably is that when we just think of investment readiness, the first top 3-4 things comes into mind is like pitch deck building, financial model building, investor list, and all. But those are kind of just one piece, while the investment readiness also includes figuring out the unit economics, cash flow, because usually what founder feels investment means, they look at scale and growth. But when investors are looking at investment, they are looking at more of a risk lens and return. So how different part of risk which are associated with a particular founder can be mitigated, that can be included as a TA piece in, it could be data systems, it could be GTM, it could be unit economics where founders may need help. So the holistic investment readiness program design can itself become a whole baseline of such a program design.
Great. No, thanks, Raj. I think the key I can take is like the technical assistance, support, and the hand holding that goes in the background is still very much important. It's not just the money that takes you, but the hand holding support can probably make the journey quicker and efficient along with the catalytic money that people are getting. So yeah, thanks for coming online and helping there, Raj. Pamela, for what would your region and your team suggest thinking from the hub perspective and as an implementer of these programs?
Yes, reflecting on the challenges that we faced through fundraising, I can say that most of the companies, and this is was mentioned by Hamis, for example, they need the access to affordable debt. They need the access to early on funding, but to fund high-risk ventures. So here it is important when we design a fund to take into consideration the implementation of certain guarantee mechanism just to be able to provide or to mitigate the risk of those investments that are needed in the region. So the guarantee mechanism on the fund level is very important. The blended finance mechanism as well, just to make sure that we provide this affordable debt for those companies. And I can say as well that maybe even the de-risking mechanism on the level of the enterprise are needed. For example, to guarantee a certain portion of first loss guarantee, for example, on the loans is important to be implemented. So I think mostly about those mechanisms that can be implemented, in addition to tailored programs. If we talk about grant programs, to be tailored based on the development stage of the company. So the disruptive innovation cannot be treated as same as the SME, because those would take more time to generate positive EBITDA and so on.
Yeah, no, great point about the alignment of stage versus the offering. And also I'll take the key on end user financing and how investments can fund the end user financing initiatives of the innovators. So guaranteeing at both level, because sometimes you need to build affordability at the smallholder farmer level for high capital innovation. So I think that's a very key point, and that I'll take. And yeah, lastly, last but not the least, coming to you, Mashiri and Kahembi, from your region and your hub perspective, what do you think is needed to serve innovators effectively and efficiently in future?
Sure, thanks, Jatin. I will just go quickly. I think three things are very important from what we've observed over the years. First of all, match funding, if accompanied with a proper strategy at the onset of the program, is a secret sauce. our WE4F grant, we managed to de-risk our grant by requesting innovators to have match funding, but I think we could have gone further by also thinking through how we can help by making this grant strategically positioned as match funding for other programs. I mean, we did that later on, but I think at that point, most of the disbursements had gone already and the grant size had already significantly reduced. So it needs to happen upfront. The second bit is I believe the future programs should really consider partnerships with MFIs or DFIs right at the onset. They could have like one or two or a few anchoring partners that are DFIs or MFIs, because they do help in the initial stages when companies are still getting their houses in order. In our hub, for example, we spent like more than 12 months without raising a single cent, and it was beginning to cause a lot of discomfort across all the partners and players. But if we had like an anchoring MFI or DFI, we could have probably found our way a lot shorter and easier. And finally, I would say perhaps also considering guarantee structures or partners that can come early as well to provide guarantees for some of these investments would also help in unlocking a significant funding. And for the interest of time, I'll just pause here, but I'm happy to expand on that if needed. Thanks.
Yeah, no, those are great points. Like, again, it's what even Gaurav mentioned before, how your grant can unlock another set or percentage of actual cash money from other programs or other investors. I think that's a really key point. And then aligning, I think your hub is also the story of aligning to the needs of the ecosystem, where you think that you can reach for X, Y, Z, but you pivot probably very quickly on a quarterly, monthly basis. And I think that's true for all the regions that we work with. But yeah, I would just like to thank all of you for like really great insight. I wish we had more time. We can keep discussing these topics for days, as you know. But it was great to welcome you all back and listen to all the stories and insights in a nutshell in 1 hour. So thanks a lot. We really appreciate all the work that our innovators are doing, not just the 3 of us that you have joined today, but also the other program innovators, the 170 odd that we had. We appreciate all the work that they are doing, and then the support by a great regional team that is being provided to them to get us to success. And I hope even when V4F ends, as they say, all good things have to come to an end sometimes. So V4F may end, but I'm sure the journeys of innovators and the people associated will keep on and going to newer heights. So with that, I will close the session. Thank you all the participants for joining. The recording will be shared for this session. And there in the next week, same time next Wednesday, we'll be having the second webinar of the series on best practices on gender integration in challenge funds. So if you have time, please feel free to join and raise our morale on that. Thanks a lot, everyone, from wherever you joined.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, good night. Take care.
So much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Cheers.
Hope to see you again. Bye for now.